Russia will be held accountable if it invades. And it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, et cetera. But if they actually do what they're capable of doing with the force amassed on the border, it is going to be a disaster for Russia. My guess is he will move in. He has to do something.
Ukrainian officials reacted with shock with what President Biden said when he talked about a minor incursion might be a different situation.
And now we know why they've been keeping him in the basement and why they've only let him do 2 press conferences in an entire year of his presidency, because he flies off the handle. He's always fancied himself a foreign policy expert. He's never actually been one. If you look back at the history of Joe Biden comments on foreign policy problems that the United States has had, he's been wrong almost every single time. And they gave him 2 hours to talk to the press without a teleprompter last night, Dan, and he almost launched a ground war in Europe.
Not received well in Kyiv. I was very surprised when the president said what he said about potentially having a minor incursion here, acknowledging that an invasion may be all but inevitable, and talking about the fact that NATO may not be united in response if that incursion was minor.
President Biden's comments on Ukraine, they raised a lot of questions. The reaction overnight was immediate. Our senior foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, is there on the ground. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. That's right. An advisor to Ukrainian President Zelensky telling ABC News there's shock and dismay about Biden's comments that seem to suggest a green light to a minor Russian invasion.
You had the Biden administration saying very clearly earlier in the week, an invasion is an invasion is an invasion. Afterwards, Jen Psaki put out a White House statement that said, if they, here it is. If any Russian military forces move across the Ukrainian border, that's a renewed invasion. It will be met with swift, severe, and united response from the U.S. and our allies. So we have a strong statement before, we have a strong statement after, and we have the very unfortunate gaffe during the press conference where the president talks about a slight or a mild invasion, incursion. Are we in a worse position today with Russia and Putin than we were before that slip up in the press conference? Or do the statements before and after send a message to Putin?
I think it's confusing, not just to Vladimir Putin, but also to our allies, including Ukraine.
Yeah.
And you heard their comments. So, look, it was unfortunate. It was also unhelpful.
So he needs to go back to the basement and have somebody control his messaging until he can learn that there is no such thing as a minor incursion for any country looking at 100,000 troops on its border controlled by Vladimir Putin. And I think the Ukrainian president put it perfectly, right? There's no minor incursion. There's no minor casualties. There's no little grief when people are hurt or killed. And also, he made a point today that the foreign minister of Ukraine spoke to the Wall Street Journal saying it was wrong on another level, because we're not actually worried about a full-scale invasion so much as we are about Putin trying to destabilize Ukraine in ways like a minor incursion and other things that he might try. So in no way is it helpful to us to, with a wink and a nod, give him a green light for stuff that doesn't seem really, really big or bad.